Hello there. Welcome to another Traders Community podcast. Investors, traders, punters and dribblers. Look forward to sharing with you all today's trading, what we saw, what we're looking at. We're going to look at the major indexes, oil, natural gas, go through Peloton and Lyft, which both reported and had big moves today. We're going to go through the oil stocks that we were talking about over the last few weeks, and we had swing positions on, Exxon in particular, the options play we did. We're going to talk about Alcoa, which broke through those big levels with the soaring aluminium or aluminum, depending what part of the world, but the same thing. I've got the glorious Madavi here in spectacular form. And so we are ready to go. So let's start off looking at the overall markets. What do we start off with? So let's go through basically, as we know, oil. We're going to look just quickly, 5-minute, what they've done today. Oil has been coming off. It hit all those levels on the weekly. That's what we've been short off that 92 plus area on the WTI. And we, if you recall, bought puts in Exxon as that play there. They actually go ex-dividend tomorrow, so it was a pretty easy one. It was following with oil. And 80 was our strike on that. We'll look at that specifically. You can see oil came down. It's dribbled up all day. And this little boost here, we had the API after, and also we had news of more rocket attacks. Natty gas, our other energy that we watch, basically sideways all day after being falling off those highs a week ago or so. S&P really popped out of nowhere today. Down here was testing the downside. We had yields at their highest for a long time in the 5 and 10. How far back were they, do you remember? They were way back there, though. Let me see. It was, from the highest since August 2019, the 5 and 10 year. We had a 3-year auction today. That's all on the site. That was we gave that an A minus. Some people most people would agree with that. The trade bonds, I think. We had the 10-year tomorrow, which is going to be interesting when we're at these highs. The 30-year bond was the highest in about 8 months, I believe. So and we got CPI out on Thursday. So the market seems oblivious to that. These are big levels. We couldn't get over that 45.20. We're just around there on SPUs. We had a nice buy here on the 5-minute. It had a failed, so the shorts recovered here. It had a failed breakdown. This move here is what I'm saying kind of came out of nowhere. So it looks to me, the feel I was saying to Madavi today is that it looks like so many of these people are conditioned to just buy the dip. And so the machines, remember you made that comment, it found like the machines were buying?
It was like a program buying.
Yeah, and so it really feels like that. Came out of nowhere.
But if you look at the volumes, the volumes are not great either today.
Yeah, so the volumes are negligible, and that was the bit I wanted to bring out. I think I mentioned to you, just getting out of those, finding a good spread on those Exxon puts, and at the money, I might add, and the monthly, it was really hard to get filled on. Now, and so even in the ES and the NQ, you were commenting how thin it was. So here's the EQ, the NQ. So if we look at that,
real choppy.
Yeah, let's look at that just by itself. And this is a 5-minute chart, and this is the same one. Look at this selling that came into it, and then look at these buys that kind of came out of nowhere. So technically, it didn't quite get down See, look, this is the same thing on S&P. It didn't get down to a good buy on Murray, which is unusual. The one buy was off the cage and then, the cheek cow got oversold on this spike and came back into it. But it's so, these are, actually I'm looking at crude here. So we got crude up. Sorry, I had my mic covering that up. But this is the same pattern. Interesting on S&P and Nasdaq, right? See how it's not quite getting down to be oversold? So I'm going to put Nasdaq on here and you'll see what I mean. But see that bounce? Let's put in the NQ Futes. So let's put those in. So this is the same thing, right? See how it's just not quite getting down? And so that's an interesting... I was going to actually reverse engineer that, but crude's trading like a risk asset. So it's actually exactly the same mathematical reaction on Murray Math, which tells you what your gut feeling was. This is all in program buying, machines, and all related, right? So here's that. This bounce came out of nowhere, right? This is about 10:30 my time. So that's 8:30 yours. Remember that comment? It just exploded. And there was no news event. So it's just program buying in thin volume. So you need to be aware of that. Most traders would be picking up on that. But dribblers, be very careful of what you're trading. Those sort of stocks are going up, but the bid can just drop out them at a drop of a hat. And the offers, as you're seeing here. So these are times where you want to be very well buying on support, selling on resistance, know where you're wrong, and take those good setups. Don't avoid them, but avoid the liquid names, if you like, or times to trade. Would that be a fair comment? So do you want to walk us through any of this, or did I pretty well?
Yeah, you did great.
Covered there. So so we did real good on oil today. From my point of view, and the one that was difficult today was, and it's been a little bit weird lately, has been the Russell. It's not quite breaking down and not quite breaking up. So it's a good option seller's market, really. But looking at the chart, it looks like it's straightforward, but you've got this same thing on the NQ. It did a lot of stuff. This is the ETF, the IWM. You can see it's spinning around 200. And really, it's not doing much. This is two handles, right? So it's not doing a lot. But and if you look at all these charts, let's look at this on a daily basis. They're all building this. So what's the key, Madavi said? There's low volume. It's illiquid. It's building this continuation pattern. So this, and remember we've labelled all these pretty much similar. 1, 2, 3. This is either a C or the first wave down, basically, right? So we're either correcting. So you got to keep an eye on these pennants. As far as the Russell goes, the big levels at 208.90. But if these are all continuation patterns, let's look at SPX. The actual index rather than futures. You can see the same thing over and over, right? They're all just, Russell's doesn't even get this power. But there's a lot of consolidation, a lot of choppy. People are going to be short here and long here. One way is going to break. That's just the way it is, right? So keep that in mind. So don't get sated that this is the top or the bottom. Be aware that moves can happen and be aware that they're false. This is the Nasdaq. Look at this island reversal up here off cage in this red bar from the other day, like 5 days ago. So don't forget that. You've got Facebook. And so what did we call our podcast today? Meta continues to ooze. So Meta or Facebook, a lot of funds have this stock, right? And it's almost like, so if that continues lower and the Apples and the other ones that are holding us up don't go up with it, don't pull Facebook up, Meta, whatever you want to call it, then you get the ugly reversal, right? You got the gap fill that a lot of people are betting on. This is the index I'm talking about. And Peloton, which was one where, is that our dribbler special of the day? It probably is, but it actually got picked up by traders. So when that happens, when you see that volume and consecutively, you should know the market makers and traders are in it. So be aware of that. So it had earning. Let's see, what did it do? The CEO resigned. It became the chairman. They picked up the CFO from. He was ex-Spotify and ex-Netflix. They fired a couple of thousand people. Their usual thing. But you nailed that this morning. Let's pull that up. I think I got that over here. So here we go. Let me get you a 5-minute chart on it. Don't know why it keeps going to that. Well, let's talk about Mandiant first, and then we'll go back to Peloton. So Mandiant was at. Do you want to walk us through that? That was this. I didn't trade this, but you.
Well, Mandiant came out with reports that Microsoft might take it over in a buyout, so that's why the stock ran up. Towards the end of the day, I missed that first part. Towards the end of the day, I faded it and got out at like 1740 or something, and I got it about 1810. But I missed it. But it went down.
You did this little bit here. It was a nice scalp.
Yeah. So then it went down to 17. Then the hype news over there started talking about it again.
Actually, it got down to 16, 20. I missed that. That's when we were probably trading.
I missed that second part of it.
Yeah.
I was too busy with our little rideshare company.
Oh yeah, Lyft. Yep.
Yeah.
So let's. So that was a nice. So that's a good one to remember, and this is why we mention the difference between dribblers and traders, and so there's a different psychology, and as you get more experience, and a lot of stuff that just goes around is just wrong, right? If you a lot of these things out there, so trading is very fast, very hard, and it's very tough on the mind. So that's, as I said, later on, as we get more time available, we're going to spend more time on mental things more than anything and bring people on from different facets that do really well with that. Because at the end of the day, the mind is the most important thing when it comes to this game. And this is a good example, right? You can get caught in this, buying up here, averaging, or you can do sell the rumor, momentum stops, and get that take that meat right there, which is what Madavi did. And so let's look at Lyft. It seems to be easy just typing them in like this, right? So here's a 3-minute Lyft. So this was, from my point of view, I just did a little bit in here, remember? But you got that pretty well whole. This is the earnings.
Yeah, on Lyft, what I did is I offered it out. It was running up, and I sold it into the rally. And, it's hard to do because the thing's rallying so hard, and you think the earnings just blew out. But I knew there was going to be a little warning or something coming because they were talking about it, and I read it on the coming through the wire.
Right.
And so I put an offer out at $42.95 or something, and that's where I got my fill. And it went higher on me, which is always uncomfortable in earnings days because it's moving fast and you could really take it real hard.
Right. So it's important to size yourself accordingly, traders,
Yeah, I'm trying to learn that trick.
It can take for a lifetime of trading to get that be right. I mean, it's a real psychology thing as well.
I held it down to about, 39 and a half or something's worth, 39.70.
Yeah, around where this pennant was.
39 and then bounced back. It looked like it was going to run, so scaredy cat I am.
Well, you're just protecting yourself.
Yeah.
Better than my trade.
So I recovered. Then I seen it. Then the reports came back for next quarter that how rideshare is going to be weaker or something. So I start selling off again. I
Yeah,
shorted
down to 37.
some more at 39.25, and 30. Was it? No, it was 38.25 and no 39.25. I got one. Then I did a couple of other ones at 37.95, and then I did another one at 38.50. So I'm holding on those right now and looking to get out.
Yeah, it's chopping around here a bit. It looks like a series of pennants. As far as Murray goes,
Look at my thing. It was all right. It was 39.25, 38.95, and 38.50. That's where I added and got in. So
right. So right in this is that new second new. It came out in a conference call. So you see, from a Murray Mass point of view, this stuff trades pretty nice. So you want a guide when it's crazy like this, as Madavi said, he had an order out. So that was, if you think what that is, right, look at where it is maths. So it's a good math level. So he's doing it off order flow as well, watching and where it's previous. And look what it came down, a perfect measurement, right, almost 8.8. So if you're needing a guidance, time and price is a great way to look at it. Don't, a lot of these things like RSI, I was reading someone earlier, I think it was that wifey, but so many people are flogging these services or trading on things that are latent. So yeah, in a big upswing, they'll work, or a bit because it just keeps going up. But remember, things like a lot of these moving averages, crossovers, RSIs, all this stuff is old news, right? So that's why the reason we use Ichimoku and we use Murray Math is it's mathematically where it can go, and the machines are looking at this information, and the machines are running markets. And in the most difficult time, the hardest time to buy and sell is at bottoms and tops, because, this is just human emotion. So that's why we use that, right? Things like market profile are very good too. So we use Virgin POCs and POCs. And the easiest way that was ever put to me many years ago is most people are happy to break even, and that's your POC for the bulk, right? It's crazy. So a lot of people hold big losses and break even, right? Hoping to break even. So.
You mean now?
Yeah, that's just psychology. So keep that in mind, and that's exactly what. Think what Madavi was doing. He had an offer out here. These guys chasing it. They take his offer, and then from there they're battling. So if you're wrong, look, he can keep going, as he said. So you don't always just sell and buy. You got to look at what you're doing. But yeah, important thing. What was the other we had on this?
Well, Peloton was really good.
Yeah, Peloton was a great trade. Is it on? I think it's on our list.
I have on up days, I have my favorite stocks. I have my down days, or mostly any day nowadays with some of these piece of shit stocks out there, which is
we like to refer them as dribbler stocks.
Yeah, like the Palantirs of the world.
Yeah, a lot of those stocks that get pumped. You see them all over the Twitter.
Anybody tells you this thing's going to be a successful company, it's either in dreamland or.
Which one we talking about?
You get the owner of the company.
Oh, you're about
$1 billion in the first year. The issuance alone on that stock, that thing would have to have Microsoft or Apple numbers to even move. And if Microsoft did issue that many shares in so quick of time, they could be the greatest company in the world, still not going to go anywhere. So, you guys got to keep that in mind and see if the CEO just got in on a company that loses money and is putting $1 billion, not in the companies, but in his pocket. So that should tell you what you need to know. And those are the best ones to short.
Well, yeah, this is in our, I think, for those that have known us over the last long time now, this is one that we've been pretty short on. We've a lot of these. We're going to bring out when we get time, we've actually have a dribbler top 5 is what we call, is what it's going to be called. But it is, it's up before the patents offices right now, the branding, right? But in all seriousness, very similar stocks that are really much in the dribbler market, insane expectations, need money, big things. So there's a lot like that now. some of these become good. Amazon was a dribbler 20 years ago, right? It went from 200 to 5. I mean,
and Ben Bezos wasn't losing money putting $1 billion a year in his pocket.
No. So we're just saying some of these may come good, right? There may be reasons, but for what we do, we don't like that. We like companies that make money, companies that pay dividends, companies that are supported by their management, or their ownership, which is what Madhav is talking about, right? And it's what's funny. A lot of people that like these kind of stocks, they also hate the kind of the bread and butter ones. We like the oils, the commodities. When that's hot, we short them when they're not. I mean, what was our short last 2 days? Oil and Exxon, right? So you never fall in love with anything. You'll never see that from us ever. We do get to hate things though occasionally, don't we? That's a terrible habit for traders. But so you got ones like that. Technically, when you see these sort of things, this was an island reversal here on a head and shot, which you don't see very often. But you have a series of these on these stocks, not just this one. But you can see the continuations of this pennant. If this is a continuation, this just keeps going down. And a good buddy of ours, a big hedge fund manager, he's very, very heavily short this stock and a few others. What's the other one so there's a lot of this genre that just were really pumped, right? PAF's another one. PAF's a special case. So a lot of these, so when they're SPACs or IPOs, that's a double warning, right? Just think what that is. People getting out of the stock. I mean, some of it's generating money, but when you're getting into the phase of the bull market we're in, you got to ask the question. So PAF was actually one of our big shorts from last year. It was a new IPO, and look at that one, mate. It's still struggling. What was the other one? There's a couple.
Snap.
Oh, Snap. So Snap is they don't. So remember that there are the darling of these stocks. So this is an interesting one, as you know, that we had this island reversal and we bounced up strongly from it. So that's your bull sector. But what's developing in is here we have this gap unbelief down at the Tankin, which is what you're talking about, right? So didn't that have a secondary today?
Yeah, so I had bad news on it. I was waiting for this thing to come out because these guys know their gig is up. I mean, so they had this earning where they said, hey, we're fully funded. We can make our own money without having to go to the markets whenever we're broke. You know, we made first year or whatever profits or whatever, barely anything for the amount of money they burned through. Anyways, so they did a $1.2 billion secondary that they make it sound like it's going to come out in 2018, which is not true. I mean 2028. And plus additional 200 million shares, or they could up it to, just like they did with that other IPO, they upped it by 16 million shares. But so, and the stock was going down, it was making lows, all of a sudden that thing reversed out of a banshee. I was like, holy shit.
You're talking about today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was down 3-4 points almost. It was down, it got down as low as like,
well, let's look at a shorter.
I could 34.87.
Yeah. So that tested that low there.
Now, so what I'm suspecting is, all these guys who thought the stock's going back to $80 in fantasy years, seeing it catch a bid. Oh, that's the lows. We're going to, even with a secondary. But the secondary, remember, it always catches up. Because the first thing the guy does who puts $1.2 billion, if for certain reasons he can't, let's say 2028 when he could cash it, right? First thing he does is going to do a bunch of options and stuff against it. It's going to accrue interest, so he's going to make money. So no matter what, he's already locked in huge amounts of profits. And plus he can take his interest and whatever else he get if he holds it that long. So don't kid yourself. That selling's coming in.
Yeah, it's just a question of when. So if you look at this got down to -2.8, so -1.8 just on this 15. You can see it, that height up here was -2.8, so a good short. And you can see what it's come. It's come from 40.63, exactly the +2.8. For those that doubt this, Remember, these numbers are worked out ahead of time, right? Until they recount. So exactly what you saw Madavi do in Lyft, right? So someone top ticked this. Obviously wasn't us, and then it came all the way down to test this break. I did all this work. So you can work out what's going on. You combine it. That's what Nova Wave's about.
What I suspect happened today is who when they've seen the volumes coming in, buying coming in, it's a light volume day today, and I think they just upticked it so they could sell their options or whatever they need to do to protect that.
For the secondary?
$1 billion investment they just put into Snap. So they raised it up. We see that a lot of times with other stocks that have an offering, and all of a sudden the stock runs up. We've seen that in these $2 or $3.
Particularly in the smaller ones, yeah. The dribbler type.
It makes sense, but one thing is all true with them: they all go down. So I suspect this is what's going to happen here. I mean, it's going to, by the time it's said and done, it's going to be a $1.4 billion addition of new stocks hitting this market, or shorts hitting it. And, they're not going to get in trouble because they're just going to do the options, probably make money on that. If they get their interest, they'll take it. But it's an immediate winner for you, and we'll find out what the pricing is. They're probably going to price this thing, I suspect, at $34-$35.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could still have another pump. It's gone sideways for a long time, but overall, you can see that overhanging the market is what we're talking about. This is double pricing since earnings.
So earnings came out last week, right? Mm-hmm. Look at the speed of the secondary, how fast it came out. So I don't think that the people who are running the company have very much confidence. They want to get this thing out as soon as possible.
Well, so the smart operators, so when you see stocks run up, particularly biotech stocks, so they, whatever it may be, and they get pushed, in trading rooms or whatever, on FibTwit or whatever it may be, they take advantage of it because they need the money to keep going, from one hand, like for R&D, or very simply, they just might want to take profit, right?
And possibly going into a liquidation.
To avoid it. So it's interesting. So actually, raising that money can be a good thing in the longer term because it keeps the company viable. But from an investor point of view, obviously it means more stock, right? So unless it's a red hot one with a small cap already, small sort of float. Sorry, not a small cap.
And if interest rates keep going up, we're going to go kind of in a bearish market, which is, these big moves tell me we're already in a bear market. This is how bear markets act.
Yeah, this sort of volatility. So there's two things that happen in these patterns. It's either a big you've seen it. So a technical pattern called the diamond pattern. You'll see it often at the very top of markets. So there's famous ones like, I think it was 87. Dow, it just looks like a diamond because you got all this volatility going on. It does two things. It's either a major top or a major acceleration point, but they take time. So if you go back 5 years ago or three, when did Donnie become president? 5 years ago. So in the middle of that, if you recall, it went sideways, and then you had that really big push. So you had big bear, big pull, and then it went flying up. So I mean, it can be doing that again. The crazy, that's why we have that Elliott wave count on those. It can do that crazy thing. But when you get this if it does that, it still takes time, right? So a bear market can also be time and price. So you're going to have this sideways move for a long time. As Madavi said, look at some of these stocks. The dribbler specials they're big stocks, a lot of these. They have a lot of money in them. Look how much Facebook's come down, right? I mean, that was one of the big, what was those, the FANG Plus or whatever?
But see, Facebook's hated. I mean, that's why they never traded like 40, 50 times earnings. It always only got 15, 18 times earnings. So people don't like Facebook, but it was a great stock, a lot of money, but so they're going to pound as much as they can. But I mean, Facebook still makes a shitload of money. Don't get it wrong.
Yeah, it makes, so against that is we all know the whole redirection. We don't want to go over all that again. And They're unpopular. But the big question for that is how much money is he going to burn on the metaverse and all that sort of stuff? And will that come to fruition? So that's kind of the bet. So they can get on the CNBCs and all this that are fed by all the guys long this thing and go on about, they came out with some new one today, Avatar Enterprise or something like that. Someone showed me. Whatever it may be, that's your bet right there. Does that all work? Because does it go, there's a lot of feeling that the social media bit of it goes away in MySpace, right? And that's, of course, the pun on Snap. They're saying Snap's going to take that biz, whatever the kids are on now.
The next popular like dance thing, whatever the ByteDance one is TikTok. Everybody's on there. So Facebook is in a business that's losing popularity. And the government won't let them go buy any other companies because of antitrust. They say they don't want Facebook getting any bigger. So
they don't have many friends, I wouldn't think, other than, well, they are involved in that whole spying on us sort of thing. So
And a lot of people don't want to do decentralized, this whole thing that Facebook's doing. They want to do DeFi, decentralized.
Well, people just want to mind their own bloody business. I mean,
it's going to be his business, but it's got to translate over there. And is Facebook going to be a rebuilding company now? Because it's, every quarter we're going to see Facebook's earnings come down because it's not the popular network anymore, right, Johnny?
And they're burning through money. Yeah,
it's not popular. Plus, people, if they want to get into the metaverse, all the metaverses play to earn and all that, and everybody wants DeFi. It's going to be hard for them to even do something.
Well, so let me ask you the question, Johnny. Is Instagram? So that was always. So whilst the brand Facebook, the main one, was coming off, Instagram was doing really well, right? People were using it. Is that still cool or is that uncool now? Because I'm uncool. I'm not any of this shit.
I'm not using Instagram or any of that, but I think people still use it. They use it as a marketing thing to do the Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and do these social influencing or social kind of their marketing things for these guys to get their name out there or whatever they're trying to sell. Right. But at the same time, I think TikTok is taking over a large part of that. But when it comes to the metaverse, there's so many play to earn, decentralized, plays out there that it's going to be hard for Zuckerberg to be a metaverse.
He's not the most popular.
Unless he's able to buy, and so if he gets weak enough, he go to Congress. See, I wasn't the big guy, and they give him permission to go buy couple of these companies and get it relevant again. So that's his only hope, I think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But let's see how he performs. Besides Facebook, he's never developed another company that's been successful.
Didn't he just flog that from the Winkle boys?
Just think of who he stole all that from for Facebook. All the two brothers, Cameron and whatever his name are, the Winkle brothers, or whatever they're
the Winkle boss or something. Twinkle.
Oh,
yeah. Geez, we're terrible. We're hitting the ignorant button today, aren't we?
Yeah. Those guys actually, they got involved with stuff that's going more.
They're obviously ahead of the curve, those two.
Yeah. What he should have done.
So well, let's move away from the bloody metaverse to the real world here of commodities.
Enphase. What do you guys think of Enphase? What happened with that today?
Well, let's come to that. I didn't trade that one, but let's go through some of the stuff we did. So Exxon, we called that yesterday, and pretty well nailed it. It's a good one to trade. It was interesting. It was real easy to get in. You could buy all the puts you wanted, right? And oil was perfect. So this trades with oil. So we did the 80 puts, and we based that on this, looking backwards. And I want to say we got them around 110 maybe, 111 yesterday. These are the Feb 18s, one of the great dates in mankind, February 18th. We'll leave that at that. And then today we got out of them just over $2. So nearly, not quite 100%, but not bad for one day. What I noticed, if you remember, it was real hard for me to get out, remember? They went all wide. And so that's a good indicator of what's going on. You can see the pennant. And the reason we got out was, This is a massive open interest. So look at open interest. Remember, to trade options, the main thing you want to look at is the Vega, how much it moves to the market, the Delta, how much stock you're actually controlling, and Theta, right? The time. Don't get caught up with all the other stuff, because you want to know all that, what's going on with the market makers, your charms and all that sort of stuff. But in reality, who I see using those words aren't people that are actually market makers as a general rule. There are some real good people that do share their thoughts. But you, as a trader, an investor, you want to be aware of that. And definitely, you need to understand all that, dribblers, if you're going to muck around in this stuff, right? I heard of people buying calls in this stuff, and I'm like, why? I mean, it was pretty easy, that one. Okay, watching a couple of futures, and I don't really trade this very often. You can count it on one hand over a long number of years. But I watched soy for inflation, right? And look what it's done. It's powered all the way up, boys. See this? So this used to be the inflation gauge back in the day. Soybeans, and it's also used in food stock for cattle and all that aren't graze fed. We watch lumber for obvious reasons, building. So that collapsed. We corrected all the way back. I think that's, see that over 61.8. That was a good short. Came back, hit the Cajun. And see, all these numbers are predictable. So it's out there in the system. It bounced. It's now over this. The relevance of this and the reason energy is we have CPI out on Thursday, and this is a big bit of inflation. So houses, energy, building houses. Corn is another one. We will look at that if we're energy because of ethanol. Look at this nice channel it's been in. It had this blow off top here, and it's just crawled up. And that can be a right shoulder there. So the other stock so unfortunately we took it, we rebooted, and we had one of the other long terms I've been in for a long one of my, because a commodity basis is at Alcoa, and we shared though. We don't get on Twitter much during the day because we're trading, but we did put this one out. So Alcoa has been a good one for a long time because it turned around, right? So basically, when it comes to aluminium or aluminum, depending what part of the world you live in, I don't know why they take the I out in America. Who knows? Tell us why, Johnny. Do you know?
But it's too hard to pronounce.
Good answer. I like that. How do they spell it on Facebook? Anyway, we digress. So this was a beaten up company for a few years ago. Remember Madavi used to always short this on earnings. It was like 10 or 11 bucks. They then split off into two components. One is the feedstock, however you want to call it, which is this, right? So that changed around. It started recovering. Actually, we should look at a weekly chart probably. So if we look at a weekly, you can see it better. So you can see how it recovered. Look, I mean, this was just a piece of rubbish, right? Then it recovered. Then aluminium, with the whole supply crunch, became sought after. It's used in a lot of things. But so the energy crisis helps this because people want to have cheaper vehicles. So a lot of things like trains, cars, all this are made out of this now. It's not just your can of Coke. And anyway, today what we posted, it broke with aluminium. And I'm trying to remember who sent me the chart. One of the chaps from Italy, I believe. Anyway, so we were actually in this technically off this pattern down here. We've been in it just off Cajun. It's been a real good one, right? But that was that explosion here. You can see it broke up really nicely. And so you know where you're wrong with it. It should come back and test this. Is when you come down the bottom side of that if you're an investor. They do have a dividend now. That's what attracted myself to this as a long term, or stayed in it when we got rid of everything. And so on a daily, you can see, this is a good technical one, Johnny. You can see where it broke this high, came back, retested it, and took off, right? That's a good $15 move there. And so you get a lot of these in the commodity world. Now, here's where you want to be aware of, traders. If these become a dribbler stock, you know it's trying to evacuate them, right? So, because the Johnny come latelys, like what we're just talking about on energy, right? What other? I think that's all the stocks we did, right? Am I missing anything?
I did Enphase. I don't know.
What was the one you just asked me, Madavi, about?
I was Enphase. I was the one that I played that earlier.
IX?
Enphase.
What's the symbol?
ENPH. I thought you knew about it.
I don't think so. $167. That's out of my. I can't afford that one, man. I ain't rich enough for that stock. I'm working on my accent. Sorry, guys. So this is a 1 minute chart. So we probably want to look at it a little bit. Let's have a quick overview. So what we do is a top-down approach. I vaguely know it. I've never traded it. I couldn't even tell you what they do. So if you want to...
Energy.
What to do with energy, though? I can see energy in the word. What do they do? I'm hoping you know more than it. So you can see it broke out of here.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we got a nice big topping pattern up here. Looks like, what was the high there? 220. What is that high? 282 or so. And we came down in a brutal fast wave. It looks like we corrected to test this low here. So if I had to be bullish for me, it would have to break back into the cloud above here. And your target's probably the top of the flag, 167. But this could just be a retesting of this breakdown. The bulls will have this as a double bottom, which is 114. We're trading at 144 now, by the look of it. What was the news on this one? Or what did they do?
They killed earnings.
But
they do solar, they do energy, they do all
do
this.
they make money? Or they just be
lower loss? Battery.
They're making money? That's unusual.
Yeah, they make money. I know.
So that's not a dribbler then.
Fremont, California.
Oh. Are they moving out like Elon or not?
Well, the thing is that this was a little tech darling, and it ran, and then it just crumbled.
Oh, so it was a dribbler.
See it beat earnings. Okay. Yeah, see it beat earnings is like, for a lot of people who are in it, probably relief,
they doubled up. They probably averaged. I got you. Yeah, so not a lot. I mean, other than that overview, that's kind of... I don't know anything about this company, full disclosure, other than looking at that stock. It looks like a lot of those ones. But if they make money, then have a good look at it. Do your due diligence. Let's have a look at Natty. So natural gas, and what's easier, I'm just going to do one chart on a larger scale. We'll go through it. So this hasn't really changed. We all know on a weekly basis, this is the double top. Why did it come up the crude? Well, let's do crude. It keeps going back to crude. So let's do our crude. This is our daily. You can see we've just been steadily rising, as you know, but we'll start off with the weekly and go through the longer term. So this is a red spug that we're calling. We've labeled this a 5 or a 3. This here could be the 3, 4, 5. Remember, so nothing's changed. Just checking our weekly. We are due for a decent top. You can see the 3 red spugs. From a longer point of view, if you're a bull, you want it to hold this level. We're in for a deeper correction, which is 85.70, trading 89.76. We got up to 93.20. So you've got the President of the United States sending out his press secretary saying they're doing whatever to stop the squeeze in prices. Well, in reality, they created the thing. I saw Pit Boss put out a funny tweet to that effect. But you know that they're doing whatever they can do. I just find it really interesting they're trying to get Russia to increase production after doing all this war stuff with them. It's just bizarre. Not a word I can think better to describe it. Anyway, look at technically. You got this red bar. You'd want to see a series of these, or we could just be doing another flag, which if you remember, we go to the daily, that's what it's been doing, right? Each one of these. So on a daily, we tested that Tenkan, we tried to get under, and this was the chart that we based. On the weekly, you can see we have that nice channel. Just look at your thing. So that was the base of this sell-off. We got down to Tenkan, and then we closed right at it. In fact, we're trading right around it now. Okay, you can see that going on there, right, peeps? So, yeah, and yes, that's true. We did have the API number tonight out already. We have the EIA tomorrow. So, a lot of this looked like a break to come down to the Cajun, but it held it. So, a lot of, see the two false breaks here? So, there's obviously the market has buying, be it genuine buying out the curve or speculative. Either or, we know it's buying. And we know the length of this wave, that this is a 3 or a 5, right? A 3, meaning this whole thing's 3, 4, 5, higher, or this is a short 5 here. Either or counts. So you want to look to your other things. You can see 8H is all the way up here at 100. So that's certainly possible before this is all over. Let's look at natural gas. Is there anything you want me to look at specific, anyone? So this is what I was trying to bring up before. Okay. So natural gas, this is the recent spike on the freezing cold weather, right? So bear in mind, I mean, this is just a great way to learn about how the herd's trading. This is one of those great ones. So if you look at this, and this is what we kind of joke about it, the whole dribbler thing, but it's actually true meaning, and it means multiple things, and so it depicts perfectly what we're trying to warn on. You can see when that almost a crescendo and glee that everyone's going to freeze and die, and almost with some of these people. But the move, particularly this one, had come from 360 to 560. That's $2, right? I mean, from 360, just do your math. And so, and if you look at the volume and you look at your Murray, you know where the people are, right? So that's the whole point of it, and that's what the cloud is showing. All these things are mathematical, visual representations of what's going on. And I've said many times, if you're going to use Ichimoku, be understanding of expression of all the little nuances of it, and it can take a long time to do. And the whole point of Nova Wave, as we said many times, is there's lots of good studies out there. We believe time and price, you trade at the market, eyes up trading. It's really easy if you don't trade to look back, I bought here, I sold here. Then actually if you do trade, and all the physical and emotional mental aspects that go with it. So that's why you bring all that in. And if you miss a trade, you miss it. But certainly in this kind of volatility, I see people who are more of the dribbler persuasion, not trading or warning other people, or always somehow they never lose money, yet they don't trade. Be wary of that, right? So let's think about all that. And that's why we look at the Elliots, and we just keep it real simple. The crowd mentality. And I've been talking to a lady the other day that I don't know how we didn't know each other, but which is kind of crazy, but uses very good mathematical levels and very different but similar, but picked up the same things. Also background in energy, which is a great, if you've come from the currency, energy, bond, pitch, and you come out of that, generally you've learned a lot of tricks. You've been in there in the trenches and you've seen it without the BS. So you kind of know what works and what's done it. And now in the modern days where everything's computerized or algorithms run so much, That's what that's picking up. Those same mathematical things, or the simple where things run out. Remember, one of the big things is false breaks, right? And so you see all that with this. So that's natty. We're playing out models, as I said, this time of the year. The other big thing, of course, is LNG, with what's going on. And there is that political factor with any energies, but here's the scary thing. I don't think any of them know what they're doing, and they're covering up a lot of stuff. So be aware of that. These prizes could be doing similar things. So you don't have massive positions at all, Basically, I don't go anything that I don't understand, right? You just saw that event phase. I've never traded, no idea. But we look at it technically, what it can do. And just a quick overview. What else did we need to look at? Anything else, Johnny? Badavi?
Whatever you want. I just think it's so much.
I tell you what's really been doing well.
You got everything.
Bitcoin. Well, let's just finish up with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So here's a good one. And I'm obviously not a very good dribbler because I never touch these things. But I watch them. I watch them like a hawk, right? So which is the one that, let me see, the one that the Roman watches on these? It's Bitcoin. I think it's Bitcoin. It's called Bitcoin Perpetual. I'm just trying to find where it is. Oh, there we go. So Bitcoin is so we want to understand risk. We want to understand what the herd's doing. We want to get in. So I think there's different types of dribblers, right, that we're watching. And the herd, and it would say things, but it gives you good insight of what's going on. Remember, 85%, the old 85% rule. So with Bitcoin, you've also got, it's a little bit different, right? You've got 5 or 6 major whales, right? Is that correct? So know that there's genuine, whether you believe in it or not, is not what we're talking about. But in reality, it's a major trading vehicle. There's a couple of big blokes do it. So you got to watch order flow, and you watch for positive and negative divergence for all the reasons I just said. You look at simple stuff. Okay, this is where it broke up from, and that's what it did and came down. If you remember what Johnny was talking about last week, he was actually watching this to see if what happened, it corrected, and we didn't even have the energy to go lower than that, right? Look at the volume that came in on this spike. So this is a genuine run. Is it short covering? Is it new buying? Is it the whales selling here? Is it? We don't know. And do we care, really? We're not them. Worry about yourself. What we do know is it was a great sale, plus 2/8, right? This is just today, but this is the reason we're doing it just today. We're going to go back and look at longer term, and you'll see it replicated. See, these things replicate themselves because they're machines running them, right? So look at today. That's your 15. That's a pretty nice move there, actually. So that was that breakup at 41,000, remember? Got all the way to 45,000, fell $3,000, and then it's up. I mean, this is more a punter's play, probably. So look at this. This is daily. So on daily, it's almost a replication, isn't it? See that little pattern? That's exactly what we just saw, right? And look at the flag. I mean, it replicates itself. So when you see that actually means it's a good market to trade if it's liquid and you can get in and out. I know Bitcoin has other things. I don't trade it, remember. I just watch it. And again, so then we go to weekly. You see this break here, it went lower, and this is what we're seeing, that same pattern. See this third bar, it couldn't get down. See that? And you look for that stuff in whatever you trade. As long as it's liquid, this is liquid, it moves very fast and it drops out of it. So it's not for the... Personally, I don't think dribblers should be in these sort of things because they're just always bullish, always bearish at the wrong sides, and they move so quick. Is that a fair Fair comment. It's a real punter's special, that one. It's a good trading one from those point of view. So let's find Ethereum that the checkmate looks at. There we go. And so what I noticed about Ethereum, it actually, and we picked this up, it was actually stronger than these other ones. That's interesting. Not enough data there. Oh, this is the inverse Ethereum. No wonder it looks different, right? Hang on. That's what we wanted. Sorry about that, Johnny. I was like, that looks kind of weird. But you can see, so look at this. So you got the inverse head and shoulders. These are that big spike. And you got a whole series of these. But just real simple Ichimoku. You came down, you banged the Tenkan twice. And we got through all that here and just accelerated. Now you're going to get false breaks if you don't wait for this test. See the difference? If you bought this, see the first Cajun? If you bought that, it didn't have any test down the bottom. And that was something the Nasdaq never had, and that's why it all collapsed. I mean, if you want to look at what that actually means. Okay, and look what we've come up. So we had this powerful move that looks from 2,600 odd. I mean, up here, like, look at that, $600 move, right?
Yeah.
And right to this breakdown level. So this is a trading vehicle. In the bigger picture, I think you know my view on a lot of this stuff. So what else do we need to look at? We got any messages here or anything? Nothing? Okay, so we're pretty well covered. We'll take one more look at the SPOOs.
I got out of what do you call Lyft, and I went the other way. Look.
All right, let's have a look at that. Let me bring up the SPOOs real quick. We'll actually look at the futures rather than cash. So there's that, and let me look at Lyft real quick. Here's our Lyft down here. So this is a 1 minute chart, and so you can see, wow, nice reversal there. Good call.
Yeah. Well, it always does this when conference calls going on, so they're cheerleading it on right now.
Yep. And so there's that earnings, peep. Let me squeeze it in for you. This is a 1 minute chart, so we can kind of watch it live as it goes. So we saw this dump off 40. That was when they did the warning, right? So we've come right back to that level. Look at that. It recovered $3.
I tried to hold as much as I can, but I didn't want to go red in it. So I took whatever profits I had left. I was a lot higher, obviously. But then I switched and went long. And I'm just hanging out with the longs for a little bit, see how
yeah, so actually, just from a technical point of view, or order flow, or however you want to word it, we came right back to the breakdown level. So they engineered that up nicely. The market makers might have got caught on it. They're controlling the stock. Watch your order flow, watch your levels.
This is how Lyft always trades. If you trade Lyft, it always does this pattern.
Right. And Uber's out tomorrow, right? So that does the same thing. So
yeah. They tank, then they always rally because of hope for next year.
Yeah, always hoping these things. That's a dribbler special right there, Lyft. I mean,
the robots are coming, so that's what they're waiting for.
They're waiting for something. The Snap, some of these aren't trading too much. Peloton still trading strong in the after hours, 38.35. So we started talking about earlier, then we got sidetracked, but Madavi goes to me this morning, hey, you know what? This thing was down 14%. All this is not going down anymore. I think this goes up with all the news. Obviously, someone's buying it with what do you call it? The takeover rumors. So remember the rumors, Amazon and Nike. Someone did throw Apple into that bill, but that's most people that are more familiar with it don't believe that much in that at all. But you can. So anyway, when you've told me that, it was like $28 or $29, right? So, and look what it did. It rallied almost to 40. So a really good read. That was a good read there of market psychology, right? So all these things, you can see what it did technically. It was down here at 08 and it went to 88. So there's no reason not to buy it, right?
The news came out 2 in the morning. I got an alert. So I came over and shorted it last night. It went down like 28.50 and wouldn't go down no more. Then I covered it and bought it, and I got it around 30. Then when I came back in this morning, that's when I was telling you, hey man,
yeah. And then that was right when all that oil stuff was going on. But that was an awesome call. And you can see, so that's a good. So anyone that's just all technical or all fundamental or all this or all that, you need to put them all together what suits you. You can see here you got multiple reasons. And if you look at, if you recall the trade that we did the other, was it Friday when all that takeover stuff started? I think it was. So look what it's done today. It's come back to that, right? That's a daily chart on it. So you can see that was that gap there on the news. Remember that? So it got to 32 on that, came back. So just keep that in your memory box. Now we're going to go back and look at that chart we just looked at again. And look what happened when it got over that level. It tested it and just exploded, right? So that was that high. You remember that trade you did? We actually happened to be doing the podcast and the news broke. So you got to see a live trade. We don't normally do that. So that was awesome. And so then that came up, and that's why it exploded again. See this perfect thing? There would have been some good market makers probably getting it back, flattened it. Just think logically what's going on. And then your Murray will help you with all that. If you trade, pivots are very handy too. But pivots work in a very liquid market. So basically on the floor, ES, things that it's real liquid, heavy day trading, it gives you a good view. Same thing with POCs and stuff like that, like market profile. So they work when it's heavy liquidity, a centralized place, so a pit's perfect. So they're not going to work on currencies that are global and stuff. So anyway, that was a real good call there. 2 times in a row. If you key this up, Johnny's going to have to give you his wife's Peloton, mate. You're going to have to get one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Johnny, did you get out of that? I know you weren't short with me a little bit. Did you take profits, get out?
Which one's that one?
Johnny. Lyft.
Oh, Johnny, you there?
Yeah, I got out. Yeah, I got out.
Yeah.
You made some money, or did you go long?
Yeah, well, I haven't gone long, but I was looking at it. It's
okay.
Nice point. So that's, okay, I got to say it, and I'll show myself out, but that's quite the lift off there. Boom.
There you go.
So that's what we're watching. I think we covered them all. Alcoa, Exxon, Peloton, Between Us, Lyft, Enphase was Johnny's one that me and Madabi didn't. Well, I was totally unaware of it. It had the word energy in it. You assumed I traded. I love it. Snap and the different indexes. I think we covered them all. Oil, gas, and we had a little bit look at lumber and soybeans. Any questions? Shoot them off to us. Enjoy your day. The markets. We got the earnings out there that are coming. The big shape, obviously, is for CPI on Thursday. Tomorrow you got a 10-year. That's what the main focus is going to be on, those sort of things. As far as energy goes, you got EIA tomorrow. You got the whole thing going on with they're quiet on the Ukraine all of a sudden. You've got that, you got Biden, you got all this sort of stuff going on. So keep in mind, you can get, it's a very thin market. A lot of these markets right now, there's been a lot of blood spilt in January in these markets. So dribbler beware of that. They're going to be averaging a lot of what's going on, buying the volume, buying that sort of thing. So beware of what you're trading. And if you're making long-term investment decisions, I'm very specific, as you can gather. Be aware that this is not over. And as Madabi said, with this volatility, that is typical of a bear market, right? Extreme volatility. We talked about the diamond pattern. It can be doing that. It's a lower probability. But anyway, anything else, guys?
No.
I think covered. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Madawi. Yeah, make sure you hit us on the like button if you like it. Send us either on Twitter or on YouTube, whatever. Follow the website. There's a forum there with the cautious investor through the day. More for your investor types. What else we got? That's it. Hit it, like it, share it, all that good stuff. We will see you at the roundabout.
All right.